Yeah, so with that, I have the honor to have the last lightning slot talk for today, and my first talk on this adaptTo. Yeah, I want to talk about deprecation. So yeah, consider you have built a beautiful software product with a lot of features, and you continue adding more and more stuff and have a big API to cover. And over time, so the years fly by, it's used a lot, added a lot, some things get obsolete. So over time, it gets a bit, some areas are obsolete and you need a deprecation policy. I do not want to say that AMM is looking like this. There may be some rooms here and there or some areas in the underground where it's a bit muddy, but but especially if you look at third-party dependencies which you don't have under control, you need some care to take about. So, yeah, historical AM comes with a huge number of third-party dependencies. Because AM itself, of course, is built on a lot of open source, not only Sling and Felix, but also a lot of others like Apache Commons and a lot of other stuff. And historical, all those third-party dependencies are just there and usable for everyone. And as a developer, you say, hey, cool, I don't have to deploy them myself. I can just use them. They are good software, and so they're there. Technically, those dependencies are part of the product and part of the OSGI API scope. So nice to use, but of course, over time, it showed up this is a huge maintenance burden for Adobe and a bit also for us. So this is the current situation. And if no new dependencies are added, it's likely that stricter policies will be added. So if Adobe needs new third-party dependencies, it's likely that you cannot use them right off the box, but they are protected and still visible in the OSGI console, but you cannot use them. But still, all what was there for years is still there, and some of it is already outdated and marked as deprecated. So below there is an URL with a long list of deprecated APIs, some of AM, but a lot of really third-party APIs, which are still there and which still can be compiled and deployed against, but which are deprecated and should be removed from your project code. Here's only a small extract of the list. It's not complete, but probably some of the most used ones are contained in there. So you should regularly look in this list, in this documentation list, and the AM analyzer plugin should be configured by default in your build. And then you also get warnings like this one. Region deprecated API, this and this package was found, and it's a warning. And you really should take care of this warning and try to get rid of all of those warnings. Important thing, this tool only checks the imports of your OSGI bundles. So if you have JSPs, for example, for Granite UI in your code, those are not checked, unless maybe if they're precompiled, but otherwise they are not checked. So you really have to take care of those as well and manually check them if they also contain references to it. How to get rid of them if those references are in your project code. It's hopefully easy to change, but because at least you have full control over the whole code. So try to get to fix it. Look out for JSP and fix them as well. The nice thing about the analyzer plugin is that you also get the warning for third-party bundles you deploy yourself. For example, if you're deploying ACS Commons or WCMO or any other libraries, and those use deprecated APIs, you also get this warning. In this case, be a kind citizen, so check if there's already a known issue on this open source project. If not, create a new issue, maybe submit a patch if there's a straightforward fix, so those open source libraries get improved as well. And for the next version, maybe you can deploy it without using those deprecated APIs. There are some areas where getting rid of those references is a bit more difficult, because over time, the AM API itself had built in some hard-coded references to now deprecated stuff. And I will show two examples, and there it's a bit more difficult to rid of them if you depend and really have to use those parts of the API. Just some examples. For example, if you have code that is still using old versions, Commons Lang 2 or Commons Collections 3, this is usually very straightforward to fix. Just use the latest package name of those, and it should be easy to do. Maybe just give it to an AI agent, and he can do it for you for sure, very easily. For Guava, which was in the past used really a lot, Google Commons Guava, it's a bit more difficult. You have really to find a good replacement for every usage where you have it. A lot of it can be replaced by Java language features, which are added since then, or Apache Commons. If you have caching, because Guava was often used for complex caching, simple use cases can be replaced with Java language features as well. More complex use cases, you can use something like caffeine. You can, for example, embed it in your bundle and use caffeine. It's not a drop-in replacement, but it has very similar use cases, and it's documented how to replace certain Guava setups for caching. Another important thing is Sling Commons JSON, which is also deprecated for years already. It's this own org.json flavor, which was maintained by the Sling project. And there's also no drop-in replacement available. The best solution is really to migrate, for example, to Jakarta JSON, which with the Apache Johnson implementation in AAM. Hopefully, you did not already migrate to javax.json, because this got deprecated shortly after, and then you have to migrate again, at least as a new package name. There's also Jackson available, which at least has proven quite stable in the past time. Two examples where it's difficult because third-party dependencies are really hard-coded in the API. So there's one thing called predicate provider, which is used in context of the path field wizard, where you can select paths and filter paths, which are displayed there, and so on. This is there for years, or decades even, and it had this hard-coded dependency to Apache Commons collections, and unfortunately Collections 3. And this is now deprecated, and we now have Collections 4, but it's a complete different class and a different package. So if you depend on this API, you are stuck unless you are using cloud service. Then there's a new package which has basically a copy of all those classes contained, which is no longer using Apache Commons collections at all, but just switched to a Java language feature there. Still, it's more complicated for open source libraries like WCMO, who are intended to be deployed to both cloud service and AIM 6.5 or 6.6 or LTS. Especially if there's a new log message now appearing. If you're still using the old stuff, then you get full-blown load of logs all the time that this is deprecated, which is nice, but not nice that all the logs are now spammed with this error message. So we solved this in our case quite difficultly in implementing a complex workaround with reflection and detecting which service is available at runtime via OSGI and picking the right one. In your project code, it's easier. Usually you only deploy to one or the other. Just pick the alternative which is available on your platform. Another example, which is currently not solved within the API, is this drop target. We need this in our media handler implementation, for example. JIS has a hard-coded dependency to the deprecated Sling Commons JSON, just used for writing out something in Granite UI context or in the page editor context. And if you need this, you are currently stuck. You will get this warning displayed below. If you see this exactly in this library, don't make an issue in GitHub because it's currently not fixable. But if it's your own code, really go away from this and make sure all those warnings get away. And what do we learn from this? Especially if you are designing APIs, maybe in open source components or in a very long-lived product environment. This is one book I've read years ago. It was published, I think, 2008 or so. I learned a lot from it about API design. And one important thing is make sure to not have references to third-party APIs in your own API. For example, references to Apache comments, to JSON libraries, and other stuff which is more side stuff, because of course it's nice on the first hand, you can just reuse existing class, but over time you always get in trouble if this API has incompatible changes, if this API gets duplicated and so on. So really stay away. Of course, sometimes you have to do it. For example, if you're writing for AM, you have to reference Sling API and AM APIs, it's okay, but all those other APIs, keep them away from the APIs, or otherwise you get in this trouble like Adobe in their own APIs. Yeah, keep your backyard tidy. That was my talk, my last lightning talk. See you next year. Have a good